Welcome, I'm Suzette McHugh, Public Relations Coordinator at North Montco Technical Career Center. Today we're going to take a look inside North Montco, and joining me now is Mr. Stephen Monastra, the new principal at North Montco. Welcome, Stephen. We're glad you're here today.
Thank you for having me.
If you could, tell us a little bit about your background.
So I majored in photojournalism at Temple University, and I started out as a photographer. My business wasn't doing so well. So I decided that I had to pay my bills, and I went into education and started teaching photography for 10 years. Then I became an administrator. After my 11th year in Philadelphia School District, I transferred over to Chester Upland School District, became an administrator of CTE, and I transferred after 3 years there up to Lehigh Career and Technical Institute and was an administrator there for 2 years. And then I got hired at North Montco just past July.
So with your photography background, we might have to use you for your expertise to help us when we're designing some of our stuff with our graphic arts and commercial arts students.
Yeah, when I visit those programs, they're my favorite to go into because they're using all the programs that I learned with Photoshop and InDesign and Dreamweaver and things like that.
Oh, I bet you're trying to change what they're doing.
Yeah, right.
Or maybe they're even teaching you new skills
They
too.
do know a lot more than I do because I've been out of the business for a little bit.
Well, how do you feel your background is helping you at North Montco? I know you said you worked at some other career and technical schools, so how is that helping?
So yeah, in Philadelphia, the population was super diverse. So I taught in Southwest Philly down near the airport, and then in Northeast Philly up near the Boulevard. And the students I encountered there were so diverse with background and their socioeconomic and the ethnicities. And then the knowledge that they come into the classroom, you would think would be so varied, but the interests are actually on point with each other. So it was really good to see that they coming off the streets into the classroom and actually engaging and understanding each other's kind of like how they communicate and how they think. And photography is one of those languages where you can actually say something without actually saying something through your photographs and images. And those messages then were communicated pretty easily through the students. So then when I came through other districts, I took that knowledge of one single language, trying to reach a goal and accomplish a mission into my administrative positions in Chester Upland and up at Lehigh and then down here now at North Montco. Majoring in photography, I knew I was a hands-on learner. I wasn't book smart. I didn't like to read all those novels that everyone is interested in. I was more of show me, let me do it, and that's how I learn. And when you go to a Career and Tech Center, that's what we emphasize, all competencies and the tasks. So when a student comes with an interest to use their hands in their learning process, I understand and I relate to them really well because that's the kind of student I was. There's still a really important part with the academics. Like you still have to know the vocabulary, how to do higher level thinking and questioning. But at the same time, you can take those problem-solving skills that you learned from the reading and the material and apply that to your hands-on work, which is really good.
I know there's a lot of talk about integrating the academics at North Montco into the technical programs. So how does that work? So
that's a new shift. Back in the old days, they thought vocational education and academics were separate. The new trend now is identifying the academic standards that you learn in math and English and apply them to your program. The teachers have been doing it for years, they just didn't tell anyone about it. So when you go to a teacher and you say, hey, we're doing this new English standards or these math standards that they're learning in their algebra class or their English lit class, the teachers were like, oh, we already do that kind of stuff. So it's pretty much a seamless transition. And then when the students see it being taught the same way in their carpentry class as they are in their algebra class, it clicks for them and they understand it a lot easier that way.
So they don't really realize when they're in their carpentry class that they're learning some math skills.
Right.
It's just
the teacher actually has to point it out and say, this is the theory that you learned in geometry and we're applying it to the roof or the pitch of a house.
And that's very important.
It is.
I guess easy for them to make the connection between seeing their hands-on work and their academics.
The interest is piqued in that material that they weren't interested in before. And that's what I experienced when I majored in photography in college. I was dragging my feet through high school trying to find direction of what I wanted to do with my life. And then when I went into photography and majored in it, I understood ratios more. I understood, circumference of a circle and the area of a circle and things like that when you're taking pictures with aperture settings and shutter speeds. Knowing that it's applied to all parts of your life, it's a lot easier to absorb that information. Because you'll be sitting in math class and the kid's like, I don't need to know this. But then when you go into like auto tech and they have to start doing ounces of oil and pints and quarts of windshield washer fluid, they understand where those ratios come from and how to measure them and how they apply it to real world connections.
Exactly. It's really, I see how much it's beneficial for the students. So based on everything you're saying, I see you have a passion for career and technical education.
Yes.
Why do you feel it's so beneficial?
It's another career pathway, another end road or end result to their education. A lot of people think, college is amazing. It's not for everyone. When you go to North Montco, though, there's multiple avenues. You can go to college. We prepare students for that academic field as well. So if you're sitting in culinary and you still want to go off to college, we have a pathway for you for that. If you're saying, I really want to just work in the kitchen and make food because that's my passion, and you think you have enough training to start in the entry-level workforce, we have a pathway for that as well. A lot of the skills that you learn in these programs, they'll be able to help you pay your bills right away. So if you're going for culinary arts, but you want to do something more beyond the culinary field, you can get a job as a chef and then pay your way through college to reach your end goal, and maybe a psychologist or something like that as well. I always tell students, pick a program that you have passion for, and then if that passion fades, because they're young, right? They're ninth graders trying to decide what to do with their lives. I think I switched my major 4 times in college, and I vowed never to go back to school after I got my bachelor's degree. I ended up going for 12 more years to get my master's degree. So I've been in college for a long time, knowing the end result would be beneficial. So sometimes when you pick these courses, you think it's what you want to end up doing, because I would rather be taking pictures 24/7, but sometimes you find other passions that help you pay your bills and have a fulfilling life. And education was that fire that ignited in me that I want to focus on. So if you're in culinary and you want to change your field, those are life skills that you need anyway. You have to learn how to cook. You have to learn how to change a tire. You have to learn how to take your blood pressure, make sure you take medicine. So all the career fields that we teach the students, if they're not sold on it 1,000% at the beginning, at least they're going to have some kind of life skills they can carry on when they do graduate and pursue other careers.
In addition to that, it's still a career choice if they say, I don't want to do this field. I tried it and I don't want it. It's still making an informed decision for them.
Yeah, sometimes knowing what you don't like is just as good as knowing what you do like.
Exactly.
And we encourage kids to, so when they apply, they pick a couple choices. If they don't always get in their first choice, we encourage their second choice, because then that is either going to, the light bulb's going to go off, or they're going to say, this isn't for me, let me try something else. It's a lot cheaper to go to North Montco and find that, instead of jumping around through college to college, trying to find what major you want to pursue.
And that's what people don't always see, where you said you can still go to college. That's been a misconception. We fight with technical schools for years that they think, the student comes here and they can't go to college. But as you pointed out, they can go and work their trade and pay for college with it.
Exactly.
Cosmetology students tell me all the time that they still work in their field and then they go to school for business because they want to open their own salon. Yep. So there's so many opportunities.
Yeah, there's a lot of combinations you can do, but if you major in a program that North Montco offers, that's always tied into another major that a college might offer as well. So if we have a graphic design program, or advertising art, if they major in that, they can always do psychology or therapy for little kids. And there's art therapy for little kids. You can do that kind of stuff. You can be an art teacher. You don't have to be specifically a graphic designer. So there's a lot of avenues that our programs lead to with career pathways.
And there's some I didn't even know. At one point my mother was sick, and there was horticulture therapy they were doing for her, and I thought, wow, I didn't even realize that. And then we talked to the horticulture teacher, and she tells you all the different pathways there are for that program.
Yeah, a lot of times if a student signs up for, let's say, the plumbing program, they only think plumbing, but there is a myriad of opportunities in the plumbing field that you can veer off to the different career pathways that are available to you.
So I think if a parent said, how can you make them pick a program? They're only in high school. I think you pretty much are saying there's opportunities for them no matter what.
There is. They're not pigeonholed into one job title in that program. So just because it's called auto tech, you could be an insurance appraiser, You could be an actual auto tech. You might be the delivery or a driver for a company. You could be a chauffeur. You could own your own garage. You could be a business owner. You could be a race car driver. Like that field, the auto tech, ties into so many different career fields that deals with transportation. It's pretty amazing.
And everything is highly computerized now too, so they need that whole set of skills as well.
Yeah, I was just in a meeting the other day for HVAC, and they were talking about wireless communications between your cell phone and the thermometer of the house. And it blows people away what kind of technologies out there that's integrated in all the programs. It's not the old traditional way of doing things anymore. Everything's tech-based in North Montco, and we strive to get the latest industry trends in the classroom.
How do the programs know what to do, and how are they governed to keep their program up to date?
So twice a year, we have industry members come in and they look over our curriculum and the equipment, and they advise us on what the newest technologies are, what curriculum should be changed in the process of when teaching the students. And then they also come in for guest speakers. Students go out in co-op positions as well with the industry members, so they can come back and tell the teachers, hey, I just did this on a job site, we might want to check it out. So there's a lot of networking going around throughout the community with our specific programs.
Well, that's good. It's very helpful for the students. But let's get back to you now. You're the new principal at the school. What kind of goals do you have for the school year?
Well, North Montco is a great school. It has a great reputation before I even got there. That was one of the reasons I applied for the school. Lehigh Career and Technical Institute was a great school as well. But I saw the opportunity to jump ship and come into North Montco, and I was really excited about it. And my son actually graduated from North Montco. So I knew I had some experience being on the parent side of it, which I had a great experience doing with North Montco and the teachers and the administrative staff at that time. So I thought, I would carry the tradition of, excellence and success when I got here. So my goal is just to carry on what the tradition has been at the school, because we have some really good things moving. But then at the same time, there's always room for improvement. So we always get feedback from the students, from the parents, from the OAC members, the industry members that come into play. Even the community colleges, they come into meetings. The sending districts, they have counselors and administrators that give us feedback as well. So we take that into consideration, guiding our new careers and our new goals and initiatives and plans for the school.
That's great. Very briefly, if there's one misconception you can tell people about North Montco or about technical schools, what would it be?
One misconception. North Montco is for everyone. A lot of people think it's only for a certain type of student. North Montco is for everyone. Everyone who walks through that building is amazed at what we offer, because they weren't even aware of what's going on inside our walls. We encourage every kid to come for a tour and explore it, because they'll just be surprised at what actually goes on inside. There's always something for everyone at that school.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for telling us about your background and for sharing this information about North Montco. We're going to speak to some students next. So we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk to some students from our biotechnology program. Stay tuned.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
Welcome back. Today we're taking a look inside North Montco Technical Career Center. And joining me now are Emily Thieu and Tom Pacaro. They are two biotechnology students from our school. So welcome to both of you. I'm so glad you're here. Your teacher is very enthusiastic about biotechnology, and she picked the two of you to speak about the program and your career goals. So Emily, can you tell me a little bit, what is biotechnology?
So biotechnology is technology that's applied to biology processes, such as cellular or molecular processes. And the goal of biotechnology is to basically improve our lives and our planet as a whole.
So Tom, hearing that, what made you decide to enroll in biotechnology?
Well, I'm trying to think of it practically. Like I know I want to go somewhere down into the medical field, but there are a couple of different aspects of that. You have practicing, and then you have research side of it, or you can even teach it. And I think that biotech is a great program to give you the opportunity to try out the research-based side of it. It's like you can then go into college and try out the practicing side, but you already know whether or not you want to be in that aspect of the field, because it's very different than practicing. If you're on the research side of it, I think it's a lot more secluded. So if you're more of an introverted type of person, then the research side would be real good for you. But if you need communication, if you like to talk with people, you might not like it. And it's good to put your feet in the water and see if you want to do it or not.
So have you gotten to work on any of the equipment to try some of the research?
Yeah, actually. We've had a couple of labs already, even though it's just the beginning of the school year. We've used micropipetters a lot, which is just used to get very precise measurements of liquids or whatever we're trying to measure. And that's what you would use probably most often in a lab. But we've also gotten the opportunity to use a gel electrophoresis machine, which is kind of neat. You know, in crime scenes or in trying to find a specific gene, you chop up the DNA and then you run it through this gel with electricity, and it'll all show up in different bands. And we've been looking at that in biology classes forever, but now we actually get the opportunity to do it, which is kind of fun. We use centrifuges a bit, and we got to poke around with a PCR machine, which is more exciting than the other stuff that we're talking about. Because with that, then you can amplify and basically multiply the amount of a specific gene that you want in like an hour, and then you can do research on that.
So you have a lot of great equipment to really learn more about the research aspect. So Emily, Tom talked about research. What is your interest? Why did you enroll in this?
Actually, in a similar token as what Tom said, I've actually conducted research at a hospital at Fox Chase Cancer Center. I applied to one of their programs, and I was fortunate enough to get in. And that was last winter. It was a 12-week program based on cancer research and how supplements in your diet can affect your cancer output. And I conducted my own project on the EGFR gene, which is a gene commonly found in most cancer cells. And I just loved working in a lab and getting to use all these cool technology tools and really just seeing how the science that I learned in the classroom in biochem AP classes can affect people in real life. Because when you learn about something, you think, when is this going to ever happen? When are we going to use this?
Right.
And then seeing it and using it in a lab, whether it be at a program or in this classroom, biotechnology, is just, it really, you gain a deeper understanding for the material, and that's why I really wanted to apply to take this course, because I think that you do learn things in the lectures, but the hands-on aspect of it is super important in the science field, so it's really interesting.
So when you came into the lab itself, some of the equipment must have been familiar to you then.
Yeah.
So that's great.
It's very comfortable.
Yes. And you mentioned about applying for the program. What is the enrollment process?
So Mrs. Courtney, our instructor, she comes and visits to multiple schools like North Penn and Methacton, and she gives her presentation. And then based on her presentation, you decide for yourself if you're interested or not. And the application process, I'm pretty sure you have to hand in your transcripts. You have to get a couple of letters of recommendation as well from your teachers that you've had previously. And then she comes to, after reviewing your application, she comes to your school, and then she had a sit-down interview one-on-one with you and just asks you questions about your interests in the sciences and why you want to take biotechnology course, and just like your goals for later in life to see. She definitely just tries to gear the class to your needs and what you want, so answering those questions are very helpful, and it's like having a conversation. It's very comfortable.
That's great, and it's also a college level course. People don't always realize that. So you're also getting 8 college credits for Montgomery County Community College just by completing this course. And so it is very highly selective, so it's great that you both got in there because there is always a waiting list for this class. So Emily, you're a senior. What are your career goals?
Well, I hope to be in the medical field, but I'm not sure if I want to do research yet or be a doctor. I have done research in the past, like I said, but I know that it's very grueling as a job because most of the time you're wrong and you have to go back to the drawing board. So that's why I'm taking classes like this, and I volunteer in my free time just to see what aspects of the medical field that I like and dislike and just try to figure things out. So I'm not 100% sure yet, but definitely in the medical field.
So we were talking earlier about career planning and the opportunities you have when you come to North Montco. So it sounds like you really have a lot of plans in mind and you're trying every avenue to get there. And that's great. Now, Tom, I know you're a junior, but I spoke to your teacher and you have a lot of career plans too. So tell us what you're thinking.
Well, I want to go down a similar path of Emily, going to the medical field. And forever, I've always thought that I wanted to be a doctor, but lately I've been actually thinking about what my talents are and how I can best apply them. And although I think I would make a pretty good doctor, I also have the skill sets where if I end up not going down that route, I think I could make a pretty good biology professor or professor around somewhere in the medical field. I'm very good at kind of reading material and then getting it and being able to disseminate the information to other people. Now, over the summer, I'm going to be volunteering at hospitals and shadowing dentists because I've already done a little bit of shadowing with doctors, and dentistry is interesting, but you don't really get a chance to look into it very much with a lot of programs. It's fairly niche.
Now, I also heard you're interested in the allied health program at North Montco.
Absolutely.
So just before you explain that, I just want to explain that biotechnology is just open to 11th and 12th graders, and it's a one-year program. Allied health is strictly a 12th grade program, again, one-year program. So explain your interest.
Well, first I want to set us up to, I knew that at Montco, out of anything I could really do before I get into college, the best things I could do to get prepared for medicine or try it out would be biotech and allied health. Biotech gives me that research aspect of it, and allied health allows me to do a lot of shadowing at hospitals and get one-on-one work with patients. So that's going to give me a great opportunity to try out the practitioning side of it. So I definitely want to do allied health next year, and I'm going to be trying real hard to get into it.
Yes, I was going to say that, again, that's highly selective, and it's a lot of students want it. It used to be only in the mornings, but now we have 3 sessions of it because it's very popular, and it's housed in the hospital. So you do have the opportunity, obviously some days you're doing book work, but other days you do get to go and shadow the staff at the hospital, which is great. So Emily, tell me, what's a typical day like in your program?
So Miss Courtney has a lot of experience in the medical field and in research. So she's worked at GSK and she went to Penn. And so she gives us lectures, and she brings in her personal experiences in the research field and using biotechnology. So the lectures are not something that you could just find in a textbook. It's really personal, and she answers all of our questions that we have because we're very inquisitive. That's definitely something that's important to, an important quality to have when coming into biotechnology. And then some of the weeks we will have labs, so then we go into the lab and we take what we learned from the lectures and we're able to apply them in real life. And we work together in groups, and you really learn how to interact with your peers in a lab setting because it's much different than sitting down in a classroom taking notes. So yeah, it's interesting.
And that's great how you interact with your peers, because your peers are coming from 5 different school districts, so it would just be like the working world too.
Exactly, yeah.
So Tom, what's your favorite part about the biotechnology program?
I actually really appreciate the opportunity to talk with Miss Courtney, because I like to work out in the mental field a lot. I mean, applying the science is neat too, but the most interesting part of it is thinking about what new experiments we can create or what new things we can try out to create a new drug or affect whatever gene expression we would like to do. And I can bounce ideas off of Miss Courtney and see if they're either neat or if they're likely to hurt people. And you don't want to do that. So she's a great resource to kind of think with yourself.
And I can see how you're saying you want to try both avenues, because some of the times you're answering and I think, oh, he would definitely be a researcher. And then other times it's like, oh no, you could be practicing it. So I see it's a great opportunity at a young age to really test it all out. How about you, Emily? What's your favorite part?
I'm kind of the opposite of Tom, actually. I love the application part and being able just to be in the lab. For me, the most rewarding part of science is, yes, we learn things from books, from the lectures, but being able to see it and apply it and see your DNA run through that gel successfully and comparing it to the other markers, the other DNA, seeing how restriction enzymes cut certain DNA fragments specifically, I think is really interesting. And it's just an experience that I cannot get from a book. So I like that a lot.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, Tom, what do you think is the most challenging part so far of being in this class?
Just that you can make mistakes when you're doing a lab. Like on a lab we recently did with the gel electrophoresis, it's very, very small wells that we're trying to inject DNA into. And although I got it in a couple of times, sometimes I go too deep, go right through the gel, and the DNA would sprawl all underneath it. So it was a completely wasted well. So even though you might know what you're doing, or think you do, you can just mess up and ruin the entire experiment, and then you can't bounce back.
But it's great that you're able to practice it here. And I imagine she must have you practice multiple times to get it right. That's great. Emily, if a student is interested in this program and they're watching right now, what kind of skills do you think they would need to be successful?
I think it's very important to first off have a love for science, just really enjoy it, especially the lab aspect as well. And then also just be motivated to do the work that comes with being in biotechnology, because you have labs frequently and you have important lectures that you have to take notes on. We have tests every once in a while, lab reports we have to do. So just make sure that you are a person that is going to be on top of his or her work, and just it's a class that is fun. Like, it's not something that you're going to be bored sitting at a desk all day. It keeps me awake. I would never fall asleep in that class. It's just a fun class. So, yeah.
Well, I think that's great. A lot of the hands-on programs really help you. And for me, I don't understand science at all, but I'm really glad you two do. And I can't wait to see what you do in your future. And we wish you all the very best. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
If you would like to know any more information about the biotechnology program or any of the 22 programs offered at North Montco Technical Career Center, just give us a call at 215-368-1177 or visit our website, nmtcc.org. For North Montco Technical Career Center, I'm Suzette McHugh. Thank you for watching.